And right now we are joined on the line by Buffalo Mayor Byron Brown. Mayor, you are here to discuss that travel ban and some other things that have been happening during this blizzard of 2022, one that we will not forget. But let's get this political stuff out the way. We heard a press conference with the county executive earlier today. Then we heard your press conference. So we heard the county executive say that maybe the county needs to come and take over and do the snow plowing. Let me just ask you, have they helped you so far? And is that something you would welcome in the future?
We've worked with the county, we've worked with the state. The state has been tremendous in providing all of the resources, all of the equipment we've asked for. Plowing management in the city is the responsibility of the city of Buffalo, the mayor of the city of Buffalo. We will continue to handle our responsibilities. My concern is not about politics, conflict, but working together, collaboration. And that's in a historic storm like this, what the people are looking for. They're looking for the people that they've elected to work together and to collaborate. Just came from taking a tour of the city of Buffalo. Was in all sections of the city, east, north, west, and south. The plowing operation is moving very well. We're making tremendous progress. Over 450 pieces of snow plowing equipment out on the streets right now. City equipment, private contractors. The city has hired state equipment, state contractors, county contractors, National Guard. So we are making progress. We intend to have all streets in the city of Buffalo with a single pass by this evening.
Mayor, we know that this storm was historic. It really taxed a lot of municipalities. Was Buffalo ready? And do you think that that traveling ban, that driving ban, should have been put into effect earlier?
Buffalo was ready. A storm like this, of this magnitude, requires municipal aid, mutual aid. No one municipality can handle a storm like this all by itself. The majority of the impact of this storm, ground zero for this storm, it's been said again and again and again, was in the city of Buffalo. So the most adverse impacts of the storm was in Buffalo. Buffalo needed assistance. And I thank all of those local municipalities, other cities, other jurisdictions that came in to assist in what we were doing. The driving ban was imposed at 9:30 on Friday. Thought it was enough time. We knew that the harsh weather would start to roll in at 7 a.m. on Friday. And in the days leading up to the blizzard of 2022, there were a lot of warnings that went out to the public that this storm would hit at 7 a.m. So we felt that people had ample warning, that people knew that the conditions would deteriorate and the storm would hit starting at 7 a.m. on Friday. And we imposed a driving ban at 9:30 to address what we knew were going to be very hazardous conditions.
Speaking of the traveling ban, when do you expect it will be lifted? Do you have a timetable yet?
My goal is to be able to lift it tonight. Still a lot of vehicles on the roads. We've asked people to stay home. A lot of people have complied with that. We have trucks out in every section of the city, very heavy equipment, high lifts, plows, dump trucks. We want to make sure that people are safe out there. As I've been touring different parts of the city, I've seen people walking through dump trucks, walking behind plows. We learned in the last storm, horrifically, with the loss of a city worker, how dangerous that can be around this heavy equipment, which is why we still have a driving ban. But our goal is to open up every street in the city of Buffalo tonight and to be able to lift the driving ban at some point tonight.
Can you explain, Mayor, because there are a lot of people who live in the city of Buffalo, maybe they live on the line going into a suburban town, and they do wonder, Why is it that the suburbs are able to open up all of their streets and their side streets so quickly? I know in the city of Buffalo you have more streets, probably that's your answer, but can you explain why so many side streets just weren't touched for days? And this is not the first time it's happened before. So explain that process.
Well, every storm is different. With two historic storms, one in November and this one in December, the conditions in the city versus the suburbs are completely different. Homes closer together, homes without driveways, homes where people have to park on the street, more narrow streets. So the plowing situation is completely different. It's much more difficult. But with this particular storm, people have to realize that Buffalo was hit harder than any municipality in Western New York, any municipality in Erie County. Buffalo was ground zero for this storm, and the impacts in the city of Buffalo were worse than any of our neighboring communities. All of the meteorologists said that. News stations, including your station, reported that. National Grid, the power company for our community, reported that. In fact, of the more than 20,000 people that were out of power in the city of Buffalo, that was about 80% of the total for the entire county. So the impacts of the storm conditions were more adverse in the city of Buffalo. They were more challenging in the city of Buffalo, and that created a different response. We had to focus on life safety. Hundreds of cars that drove in the city, cars where motorists were stranded, where they had to be rescued from their vehicles, cars blocking roads. Today, there's still many cars blocking roads in the city of Buffalo, making it difficult to plow, in some cases making it impossible to plow. Not only are we plowing snow and hauling snow tonight, but we're also continuing to tow vehicles that have been abandoned throughout the city of Buffalo.
One of the things viewers are asking, you have a new DPW commissioner. Was he prepared for this? I mean, to be new on the job and then to have to deal with a storm like this is a lot. Was he prepared? Is he ready?
He was prepared. He was ready. We have a lot of experienced people in the city of Buffalo. Our deputy commissioner for snow removal and sanitation has more than 35 years of experience. Our commissioner of DPW, our deputy commissioner for snow removal, and other employees in the city of Buffalo worked literally around the clock on these storm conditions with very little sleep. We were prepared and did everything that could be done with an act of nature like this. I think expectations that you have 2 days of blizzard conditions where there is zero visibility, where there's over 4 feet of snow, where temperatures dip down to minus 22 degrees below zero with wind chills, and wind gusts are up to 79 miles an hour. To believe that in a few days you're going to be back to normal is just completely unrealistic.
Final question, Mayor. Looking back at this storm, what would you do differently? And I also want you to grade how the city performed. Don't say A plus, right? Don't say A plus, but I want you to grade.
I'm not going to give any grades. That's for the public to grade. But the public needs to be realistic. This is not a normal snowfall. If it was 6 inches of snow, even a foot and a half of snow, the response would have been different. But these kinds of extreme blizzard conditions, a storm that's been described as a once-in-a-generation storm, worse than the blizzard of '77, worse than anything that Buffalo has seen in 50 years, and maybe worse than any storm that Buffalo has seen since storms have been tracked and recorded. I think you have to look at that. People have to be realistic with that. I think we did everything that we could do. Now, obviously, if we had more money, we could have more equipment. But given the conditions, given the fact that the National Guard, that plows got stuck, that emergency vehicles got stuck, that people couldn't see to drive and had to pull over. You could have had 200 more vehicles and 200 more workers. It would not have made a difference. So we did everything that could be done with a storm of this magnitude. We needed mutual aid, we needed cooperation and support from other municipalities and the state of New York. And fortunately, thankfully, we were able to get it.
Mayor Byron Brown, thank you for joining us on the 5:30. Of course, we'll be coming back to you a little bit later, I'm sure, throughout the week and in the weeks to come to ask some more questions about whether or not more equipment really is needed and whether or not you can or should work with other municipalities to make sure that the city is cleaned up a little bit closer or easier. We thank you for joining us today at 5:30.
Thank you, Claudine.